I feel nauseated just having to talk about how willingly people on Hillary Clinton's team are so transparent with their obtuseness, right? They have no qualm whatsoever with putting out the most fatuous positions possible that have no relevance, that have no grounding in actual logic, has completely ridiculous positions to reduce a conversation about two feuding statesmen who have fundamentally different views on how progressivism should be represented in America, and they would rather just play the yellow journalism card of Bernie Sanders is now homophobic. This is the ridiculousness that has become the 2016 election. This is how ridiculous the Democratic Party has become, because this is what we've devolved into. Because it's not possible for you to disagree with someone based on the merits of what they stand for. If you disagree with them and they're a woman, you're automatically a sexist. If you disagree with them and they are an African American, you're automatically a racist. If you disagree with them and they are a LGBTQ, you're automatically homophobic. And this is a continuation and an extension of what they've been building on for a very long time as a means of suppressing progressive movements. They've utilized and weaponized identity politics, where it is you are completely incapable of challenging someone based on the merits of what they're saying, because they are quickly positioned to feign outrage over some fictionalized offense. This is what the Democratic Party has devolved into, the exact caricature that the Republicans have been pushing on them over the last 8 years. And it's very difficult for people to actually operate on two wavelengths, right? Where you could say the Republican Party were wrong on a lot of things, and they were wrong on most of this conversation about identity, because their party personifies, as evident by Donald Trump and his white nationalism, they personify the racism that many people have complained about. However, that does not mean that in every case the Republican Party was wrong, because we can see it right now, right before our eyes. That's overly simplified use and weaponization. I don't know if it's a word, I just made it up. They've weaponized identity politics as a means of suppressing debate and as a means of suppressing dissent. And the only people who are able to be guilty of this are people who are not properly ordained by the Democratic establishment. Because this is exactly how you have someone like last few weeks, we've been talking about Matt Bruenig and Joan Walsh. You have Matt Bruenig getting fired over saying scumbag Steve meme and applying that to a powerful Democrat, right? And then you have Joan Walsh being able to call people assholes, and not a single thing is done to her, and she is still considered to be the victim here when she is quite literally the oppressor or the victimizer. And so if you are not a part of this ordained club of people from people who are ordained by the Democratic establishment, or, you know, if you're not inside of this club, then you quite literally can never say anything to these people. Yes, these people, those people. You can't say anything to them without automatically being attacked with identity politics. They have weaponized it masterfully. Now, from a purely agnostic political science perspective, brilliant strategy. Kudos. Good job. From a normal human being perspective, go F yourself comes to mind. Because you are using this tactic on the backs of people who have been marginalized, who have been oppressed, who are victims of systemic oppression, not just systemic racism, but systemic economic oppression. And you've used this as a means of silencing the conversation about systemic economic oppression. In other words, you've used black people and the plight of black people to hurt black people. You've used LGBTQ people and you've stood on the backs of LGBTQ people and you've hurt them and you've hurt their cause. You've used women who have been harassed, genuinely harassed, legitimately harassed every single day online for things that are completely insane. You've used that narrative, you've co-opted that narrative, and you've done it to the detriment of people who have been victimized. Because who, quite frankly, is going to take you seriously when you have been crying wolf all the time? And not just crying wolf for the sake of crying wolf. You've been crying wolf for the ends of protecting the economic status quo through which you are the greatest beneficiary, the greatest recipient. The DNC and Democrats are some of the biggest recipients of corporate money. There's two sides of every equation. For every dollar that goes to a Republican, somebody is giving money to a Democrat. And some of that money is going to all of these lobbying firms, is going to all of these research firms, all these political consultants, all of these surrogates, and money is filtering in by the droves. And so they have used marginalized people and they've co-opted the language of marginalized people to the detriment of marginalized people. And they expect us to just sit back and say, oh, hey, it was a fair fight.